There we go. How's everybody doing this morning? Welcome to my photography live stream where we talk about photography and what's new. And I always try to answer any questions. If anyone has any about photography or OM systems, Olympus cameras, but photography in general, I'll do my best. Of course, we can't know it all, and um, I can hopefully at least point you in the right direction. Because I went out last night and I did some fireworks photos, and I was talking to one of the members there. You know, it was with the photo club with David Crooks, and you know, there's one member that drives a couple hours at least to come to our join us on the photo walks and stuff. And last night was fireworks, and it was about an hour and a half drive for me. And we stopped. Dave and I carpooled together, and we stopped by a couple of really neat places. I mean, it's just random things out in the country because this was way out, in Frederick, Maryland, and it's like just people got like airplanes in their front yard and uh, old cars just rusting away. I haven't processed any of the pictures, but I can show you a few, and then eventually I'll process them and post them up on Flickr and Instagram, mostly on Flickr. I post more on Flickr than I do on Instagram. But what I was getting to is this one member was took a 2-week or 8-week photography course, and so he was still a beginning photographer, I guess, because even though I've seen him on and off over the year, there was still like the very basic things that he didn't quite understand. Like hyperfocal distance was like totally new concept, and that seems to me like that should be a basic photography skill set or technique that you need to know as a beginning photographer. I mean, I get it. You don't talk about that like on day one, right? But after 8 weeks, I would think that would be something you covered or would have been covered. So I don't know. What do you guys think? You think that's is that like such an advanced technique that, only intermediate super enthusiasts would know? Or is that to me seems like a basic photography concept about hyperfocal distance and calculating that with, just a rule of thumb, right? Focus about 1/3 into the frame. But I explained, this, that, and the other. And then I showed him an app that he can download to use if you want to be really precise about it, right? Or if you still don't have a feel for your lens and camera combination, because all those things affect your hyperfocal distance, your depth of field, etc. So I feel like when I think about it, and I think about all of the videos online about teaching photography, the low-hanging fruit is getting the shallow depth of field, right? I don't know why that's such a so prevalent, with online photography, that's like one of the first things people try to teach is how do you get a shallow depth of field. Just my impression, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't have any stats to back up what I'm saying. It's just my perception. But when it comes to hyperfocal distance, like trying to get everything in focus, because we were doing fireworks and I was trying to explain, you shoot here about, I'd say from here to there is about 1/3 of the distance to the fireworks, and then behind the fireworks is the landscape. So how do you calculate, so just focus about 1/3 the distance and shoot at f8 and you should be fine. And that's what I did. I manually focused to about a third of the way in, distance wise, and because of our perspective, we were a little bit up on a hill. You couldn't really use 1/3 the frame. 1/3 the distance actually was about halfway in the frame, because we were shooting vertical. Anyway, I guess when I start spelling it out, it is a little bit complicated. Maybe, I don't know, but it shouldn't be, right? It's really a simple concept to use hyperfocal distance to make sure you get everything in focus without having, because you're not going to autofocus on fireworks. Generally speaking, I mean, you can if you time it right, but then the fireworks are over. It's already bloomed and it's gone. So I don't know. Let me see the comments. Hey everybody. Hi, I'm just seeing who's here. James Kellum, good to see you. Seraphin, Lasse, Basil, or Basil. Basil. Mate, no, it's Basil. God. Basil Tiffany, I'm sorry. Tony, good to see you. And then James Kellum says there's a big gap in information from people coming from point and shoots and phones to DSLR. Yeah. Maybe the student was. I don't know. I think he was excellent. He was eager to learn. Like, because he doesn't really know me other than I'm in the photo club, right? And I was trying to explain to him something, and he didn't just blow me off and like, no, I know what I'm doing. He was like, oh no, show me. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Where'd you get that app? And it was like, he was asking a lot of questions, and he's like, wow, I didn't learn any of that when I was in photography class. And he paid a couple $100 for this class. So, he's putting his money where his mouth is, on top of having that willingness to learn. And those are the best kind of students that want to learn and don't take anything for granted, and have no ego or barriers between the teacher and the student, right? They take everything. And I try to be the same way when I'm learning something. I try not to put any barriers between me and the teacher, because anything they say, particularly if they're giving free advice, right, is I take it like gold, right? Like they're handing me a piece of gold. And even though I might know 90% of what they're talking about, there might be that one little nugget, that 5 or 10% that I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. You know what I mean? Or I never thought of that. Because everybody's brain works differently. You could talk to 10 different photographers, 100 different photographers, and ask them how to do a certain thing. You probably get 100 different answers, right? I mean, I think that's been said a few times, and it's true. So never always take the opportunity to learn from other photographers, regardless of their skill set or your perception of their skill set in relation to your own, because everyone has a different perspective. Like, God, my nephew was like maybe 12 years old, and I went out on a photo walk with him, and he took amazing pictures. I mean, maybe my expectations were low, but I was like, man, these are great. So this 12-year-old kid had an eye for photography that I didn't. I never did. I never took pictures like that when I was starting out. My pictures were just snapshots, but his pictures were actually a little creative and had some thought put into it. So even from somebody that is brand new in photography, if they're excited about photography and want to learn photography, you can learn from them as well. If nothing else, their enthusiasm is contagious, right? And it gets you excited again about photography. If nothing else, right? You get at least that. And and that's why I love going out on the photo clubs and meeting people and talking to people, and because everyone is excited, right? And you're all doing the same thing. You all enjoy the same thing. So that's why clubs exist, right? I mean, to begin with. So let's not state the obvious too much, but uh, that's kind of, so I learned something yesterday too, um, about working with students in general, because I don't have as much face time with students as much as I would like, because I teach the virtual classes online now. But when you're interacting directly with people, it's so much better. I really like in-person teaching more so than um, doing a Zoom class or something, right? Oh, anyhow, let's see if there was any questions, because I did say you can ask me anything, right? Oh, okay. What about the new firmware? I've loaded it, okay, but I haven't done any testing relative to what they say it's improved. I think it was something to do with the continuous autofocus for stills and the IBIS, image stabilization. And I thought it was fine before. Not that, it was perfect, but I just don't do enough with that camera. I mean, if this was a firmware that came out like a year later, then I would have a little more uh, field time with the camera to say, oh yeah, this is definitely improved. But if I go out there right now and unless there's some dramatic difference, probably not going to be able to tell personally, because I do autofocus mostly for my general photography, but when I'm being very critical, I manually focus a lot of times and manually set the exposure, all that stuff, right? When I'm trying to be very, if I put some thought into it, and if I want to put some thought or effort into the photo, I take control of everything and make sure everything's right, and I don't rely on the camera's intelligent features that it has. Maybe I'm just old school. I don't know, but when I'm being very, so that's what I mean. Like unless I was very specifically looking for problems with the continuous autofocus and the image stabilization, or was in a workflow like that relied on those things, then I don't know if I'll notice any improvement, but I'll try it. I'm going to be really busy this week because I have well, it's really one job, but I should say it's really two photo jobs, but it's one property. And that's going to take me some time. And then I have another individual tutoring, and then I have a class. So I'm going to try and do another test for the continuous autofocus and the IBIS. I just don't have much footage from before, right, that I can compare it against. And even if I did, I don't really have a feel for how much difference there would be. But the good thing is that OM System is updating the camera, right? And fairly quickly. I mean, this is the second firmware update since the camera was released. So that's awesome to see. And the more the better. Like, hopefully, because as I'm doing these tutorials, right, I've been trying to make some tutorials on the OM1. I'm finding inconsistencies, right? Like in my last video on custom modes, particularly the My Menu, the behavior of the My Menu in that video was a little bit odd to me, and I couldn't find it documented, because a lot of times when you see something in the menu or something the camera's supposed to do and it doesn't do it the way you're thinking it should do it, it doesn't mean something's not right. It just means maybe you don't know how to use it, right? Or it's not documented well why they do it in that particular way. Because in the manual, you can have the My Menu appear as soon as you push the menu button. So basically you assign the menu button to My Menu instead of going to the last thing used in the menu or to the shooting menu number 1. So you have some options there. But if I push the my menu button, if I push the menu button and I have it set to go to my menu, it didn't always go to my menu. And I figured out that it was the only way it goes into my menu when you push the menu button is if the last time you were in the menu, you exit out using the menu button. That's a lot. If you see the video, it's a lot clearer. So my reaction or my thoughts were, I couldn't find it in the manual, and so it's either not been documented or it's a glitch, right? Because intuitively, when you assign the my menu to the menu button and you push the menu button, it should go right to my menu every time, but it did not. So like I said, maybe there's some specific reason they do it that way that I couldn't find the documentation for it to understand that behavior, or it's a glitch, one or the other. But I'm not going to pass judgment on it quite yet, right? And that's the thing with a lot of these drive-by reviewers, right? They make some assumptions about what they think the camera should do or be able to do, and then when it doesn't do it, they say this is not so good, right? But like I said last week, always take the reviews online, including anything I do, with a grain of salt. We're all just content creators, right? We're not necessarily, at least with Olympus and OM Systems, I have some last 6 years. That's all I've been shooting, about 99%. But a lot of the drive-by reviewers, they have the camera for 2 weeks, maybe 30 days. And then they try to, they do their best to tell you what they think of the camera, but you can't just rely on that, right? You have to find reviewers that have owned the camera and have been using it for years and have, and understand its strengths and weaknesses, right? Like I was in the camera store yesterday to pick up my OM1 battery. Remember how they were giving away free batteries when you pre-order the OM1? They give you an extra battery. So I finally got it. And there was a person there that was looking at cameras to buy a camera because they were shooting with an old Nikon D3000 or D32. I forget what, one of the entry-level Nikon DSLRs from who knows how long ago, 4 or 5 years. And they were a competent video editor, right? But when it came to buying gear, relatively everything was new. She didn't know the first thing about really buying gear to meet the needs that she wants to. And that's the thing. A lot of people buying cameras, they don't have a very specific end game when they buy a camera. Like, why am I buying this camera? What do I want it to do for me? What I want to accomplish that will help me reach the goals that I have in mind for my photography or video work. Most people go in and buy a camera, and they go right to what are the features? What can this do? How does it feel? Let me take some pictures. And it takes some time, and it's always good. So what I recommend, if you guys are new and thinking about buying a camera, try and find someone you trust that knows cameras inside and out, knows cameras well, to help you make a decision. Don't just rely on what you see on YouTube, right? Or read online about a camera. Because when I was not going to inject myself into that conversation between the sales rep and the customer, right? It's really none of my business. But the sales rep asked me, "Oh, you do a lot of things with vlogging and all of that. maybe you can answer some questions. And I said, sure, I can try. Right. So, that, and that's the thing. This is just general advice is, if somebody wants your advice, they need to ask for it. Don't just offer it. In other words. And the irony of that statement is I'm giving you advice and you didn't ask for it. Right? Sometimes it's hard to think of things that are ironic. It is hard to think. Like, what is irony in general? Just like that Alanis Morissette song, the irony of that song is all of the examples she gives are not ironic, coincidental, but not ironic, right? But the song is titled ironic. Anyway, so the song itself is ironic, so it's called ironic, even though everything in the song was not ironic. And I think it's kind of like traveling back in time. It'll drive you crazy if you think about it too much. So the reason man, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I offered my opinion, and that's when I found out she was a video editor, and thereby knows a lot of people in that work with gear, right, and different kinds of gear. So when I showed her, I asked for the OM1 off the shelf there with a lens and a memory card, and I showed her because she said she wants to do time-lapse photography. I said, oh, well, look at this. It has a built-in intervalometer. It'll build a movie for you in 4K 30. You can set up to 10,000 images and set the interval time, the start time. Then down here's a calculator. It'll tell you how long the movie is based on the frame rate you picked and yada, yada. He's like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that in the camera before. And then I said, I watched this, and I held the camera like this, and I had the live view pointing towards her, and I shook it with my hand about like this motion. And of course, the image inside was perfectly stable, right? And of course, that's amazing because you can't do that with any other camera. I've never tried Panasonic, which is really good now in the same sensor size. But image stabilization, when they tell you it's 6 or 7 stops and in micro four thirds, it really is, versus 6 or 7 stops in a full frame camera. It's not the same. It's just not. Because I have a full frame camera that claims like 6 stops of stabilization, and it's nowhere near as good as the one in my EM1 Mark III or my OM1. So yay, I got another person excited about OM systems, the OM1. But I offered some other ideas based on what she told me. Was like a Nikon Z6 is a good camera for what she wants to do, and what was the other one? None of the Canons. I didn't recommend anything there. Fujifilm X-T4 and the Sony A7S III was the cameras I recommended for her. The only problem is, she wanted, even though she wasn't sure she needed it, I explained to her what you can do if you can shoot, 420, 422, 10-bit log, because she's a video editor. I says, if you want to apply some LUTs and you want to go back to a standard Rec 709, and I know this camera, our camera, the OM1, records in a Rec 2020 color space. So when you go back to edit, you have a huge, all that stuff, right? And that was making sense. That was connecting with her. And I said, you're not going to find that in a sub $1,000 camera. Maybe not even $1,500. Really, you have to go up to about $2,000 to get that specific feature. And if you spend less, you're not going to get the kind of flexibility that you're used to when you're doing post-processing with video work. And then I tried to temper the excitement about image stabilization, right? Because if you're doing any kind of paid work, you don't rely on autofocus, you don't rely on image stabilization, right? You just cannot. If you're getting paid to do something, I don't rely on autofocus. I'm talking about for video work. For photography, of course I use autofocus, but for video work, I don't rely on it. I manually focus. I set a hyperfocal distance. I use a gimbal. I use a dolly. I don't rely on, as great as image stabilization is and autofocus is in any camera, especially the OM1 is pretty amazing. You can't rely on it as a professional. You have to have complete control. So I know when I use a dolly and I use a gimbal or I use a video monopod, etc., I can do exactly what I want to do because I've developed a skill set to do those specific things that I need to do. And relying on the cameras, it would be a mistake. I mean, it's nice to have these things for your general video work. Like if you're not getting paid and you just want to do some fun stuff, you can really do amazing things with all the stabilization and software and things that they have now. But for paid work, you have to be pretty very methodical and technical about how you do things so that you can deliver consistent results every time. Oh, okay. So let's see what's going on. Marco's here. Good to see you. And Jeff Painter, always good to see you. Andreas, Wally. Oh, Wally, you had a question about your TG6. Okay, the TG6, assuming the same as my TG5, Wally was having problems with the autofocus. Like he wasn't getting sharp images. I use single point autofocus, not continuous autofocus. It's a train wreck. So single point autofocus. And if autofocus is critical, then I take the picture twice, particularly in low light. In good light, you're okay. Forget about face detect on that camera. It's unreliable. Forget about tracking on that camera. Completely unreliable. The only thing that works well on that camera is single point autofocus. And honestly, last night, I took my TG5 out last night, actually, to record some of the fireworks and the video. And, I manually focused it, just like I manually focused my OM1 to capture the fireworks. So, yeah, forget about any kind of assisted autofocus with the TG5, TG6. Just use single point autofocus, and you can trust it for the most part in good light. In poor light, take the picture twice if you can. If it's not one of those decisive moment pictures, I always take two pictures, almost regardless of camera. If I'm going to rely on autofocus and I want to make sure I got something in focus, a lot of times I'll take the picture twice because, yeah, camera can miss. Even though you get that confirmation beep, camera can miss. So if the image is going to be important, just take it twice. But 99 times out of 100, you're going to get perfectly good focus on that first image. And you don't need to worry. But for that 1% of images where I want to make sure I got it in focus, sometimes I take it twice, maybe 3 times. So hopefully that helps. And like I said, not just with the TG6, but any camera, it's good practice to take 2 pictures if it's important, and you're going to rely on autofocus. Otherwise, manually focus. And Seraphin did some fireworks last night. Cool. And yeah, it sucks, right? They say, oh, we're going to tell you in July. And then they say, oh, no, September. Come on, at least give us a leak. Tell us what it is, right? At the very least, I don't mind waiting, but, killing us with the suspense after giving this, what do you call it? Leading us on that way, right? About coming out in July. That's just cruel. Let me just. So looking to get an MC20 to use with the 4150 f2.8, already have the MC 1.4. Image quality is good. It's not. I saw the MC20 on the Get Olympus refurb site. It's like 20% off now, so you can get it for less than $300. I was really tempted because even though it's not as good as the 1.4, okay, let me tell you what I'm basing my opinion on, right? Because I don't own the MC20 or the MC 1.4 for that matter. I'm basing this on emails and comments that I got when I was talking about the teleconverters before, when I started doing my birds in flight stuff. And one particular email comes to mind where the person owns both the 1.4 and the 2.0. And they like the 2.0 better because you're able to fill the frame more with the subject. So you had extra resolving power, like you're able to capture more detail ultimately because it's larger in the frame versus, having to crop in later on the 1.4. And that kind of makes sense to me. Now, I have gone out and tested the 1.4 and the 2.0 side by side on the same image, but I only did it on one time. And the results that I got then were, the MC20 with the MC20 was a little soft. Like it wasn't as sharp, it's not, and I was using, I think, a 300 f4. Is a little softer to my eyes than the 1.4. And even though I was able to fill the frame more, I didn't think that it was worth it. Like because it was softer, I was losing detail. So I know I have that data. These are the fireworks that I did last night. I like, which one? I like how this one came out. This one here. I thought this came out good. Anyhow, it's a composite. If you look at this is the daylight or blue hour shot, right? So I could get the details of the pond, and then I just did a composite with the fire. This is the firework shot without the composite, and then I just put them together to make this. Anyway, somebody asked me to do a tutorial on how to do that. So I might try that later. Let me see. There is, when did I do this? I think it was this year. It was first quarter. Where's my 2022 drive? That's 2022 second quarter. Oh, here it is. I think it was first quarter 2022. And I was using the Olympus 300. Where's I'm set first quarter 2022, right? Unless it was it wasn't last year, it was this year. Maybe it was second quarter. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. MC14, MC20. So this is the MC20, and this is, I'm sorry. All right, so let me just punch in. So this is the MC14, right? As you can see here. And this was the MC20. So I lost a stop here, roughly, from ISO 400 to 800. That might be zoomed in a bit too much, right? Because I was in the same spot, same distance. So what do I need to do? I need to put these sync. Why? Oh, here, I didn't hit the lock button. I was like, why isn't anything lining up? So let me just realign this a little bit. So what you can do, who is asking? Jeff, right? Jeff, just email me and I can send you a link to these two photos, right? And you can compare them for yourself. And this is the shot I got. I don't have the 150 to, or the 40 to 150 2.8. I was using the 300 f4. And these, what you're seeing here is processed. These are not raw images. I mean, they're raws, but they've been processed a little bit. So yeah, it's a tough call. I feel like, and I don't have one without, I don't think I have one without the MC tele adapter. Let me just double check. Let me go to this folder. Oh, I do have one right here. So this one, and this one. We'll compare these three. So this is with no teleconverter. This is with the 1. This is with the 2.0. And then over here is with the 2X. You guys can't really, it's too small for you guys to see, I know. Let me try a different screen. But there you go. No teleconverter, the 1.4, and the 2.0. And this is on the 300 millimeter f4. And this one hasn't been processed yet. These two I processed. So ultimately, I decided not to buy a teleconverter because let's compare the 1.4 versus no teleconverter. So I'll have to zoom this in to 140, oh, even more. And this is unprocessed. I feel like there's almost as much detail here. If I just process this a little bit, it'll get there. Of course, it's all pixelated now. Oh, there it goes. I mean, that looks pretty good to me. I need to process the noise and everything, right? Because I think, this and this. Where's the sharpening? Yeah, the sharpening's been cranked up somewhere here. So I need to turn that down just a tad. So I'm questioning if it's worth it because I feel like cropping in without a teleconverter, I can get almost as much detail as using a teleconverter because the teleconverters take off about 20% of your sharpness. It feels like to me. So if you just want the reach and you're not worried about cropping and sharpness and all that, maybe. But that's why I've kind of like, the teleconverters to me feel like They're nice to have if you're really into super telephoto type work. Then you can probably get better results with a teleconverter than without. But I was pretty content without the teleconverter. And even though I was able to get a 2X for less than $300, from Olympus, a refurb, I decided against it because I just don't do enough super telephoto work, and I didn't think that $300 would be money well spent for the photography I do. I'd rather buy a 4K monitor or something that I need. Right? I need a 4K monitor so bad. Oh, but one day, okay. So that's that. I was talking the whole time. Nobody could see me, but you were looking at the images, right? That's better. So that's my opinion. My gut feeling was, I don't know if it's really worth it for me. But like I said, just email me and remind me to send you. I'll send you the raw images so you can look at them for yourself, and you'll have to extrapolate what the 40 to 150 will be like, obviously. But all things being equal, in this case, I was using a 300 millimeter f4, same distance, same light, same subject on all three images. You can extrapolate from that how the teleconverters are performing, because I've eliminated the other variables, right? The subject, the lens, the camera, all of that. So the only difference between those images is the teleconverter. Okay. No, it's not. September, I heard, is when they're going to announce it. It may ship October, November. But I got that from 43 Rumors. I check that site once or twice a month now, not so much lately. When I'm expecting something or looking for something specific, I would check it more often, like when the OM1 was coming out. But now that I got the OM1, I don't check it quite as often. And good afternoon, Bob Fitzy and Tony. Oh, Marcia's here. Awesome. Mark Sulaway. Good. Nice to have you here. Darko. Would have loved to get the OM1. Would have loved to get the OM1 since my EM1 died. I got the XT3 for a very good price. And I mean less than 100 cans or Canadians. I don't have my glasses. I got an XT3 for less than 100 cans. That's a deal, you know. And it was time to update the XT2. Okay. I know you got to pick one, right? You got to pick one, OM1 or XT3. And there's so many variables in that I would never tell somebody to buy an OM1 over an XT3 if they already have stuff already. You know what I mean? It's a tough call. And Lester says, firmware, I have a Mac and I'm having trouble loading firmware because of my Mac security settings. Ooh, I'm not familiar with Mac software. I got an email this morning from somebody with a Mac saying they were having problems with Olympus Workspace. So what they do, because you have to update through Olympus Workspace, they used the Rosetta, and they said it was slower, but it worked. But they were talking about editing pictures, not updating firmware. So I don't know if that makes sense, because I don't know anything about Apple. But if anybody has any advice in the chat section, leave a comment there for Lester. If you had experience with updating firmware on an Apple. I do not. And Daniel, good to see you from Switzerland. I'm just going through the chat. So Seraphin says, let's see. I tried out the OM1 for 48 hours and found for photography, not video, that the files were pretty equal compared to my G9. I was expecting some drastic differences. Yeah, I think, for general image quality, and I think Robin Wong feels the same way. He wasn't seeing any big difference, right? Or enough of a difference to drop, for a new camera. And I would agree with that. But I've been saying that for years with every Olympus new camera, right? When people ask me, I have the EM5 Mark 1 and I want to get the EM1 Mark 3, am I going to get better image quality? And my answer is not really, even though there's 5 years between the cameras at least, if not more. Now, if you want longer battery life and you want to do high-speed capture and you want to do 4K video and you want to, have a more comfortable grip, all the things that the EM1 Mark III offers over an EM5 Mark 1, then maybe consider getting it. These are features that you can use, right? And the autofocus is certainly better in the EM1 Mark III for face detect and things like that. It's better. And the IBIS is better. I mean, there's a lot of things better, but they were saying, I do some street photography and landscapes, and I have the M5 now. Is it worth getting the M1 Mark III? And am I going to get better image quality? I says, no, not really. And I challenge anyone to go through my 200 plus live streams and have me say anything different than that. And I can say the same thing about the OM1. For just general photography, if you just go out for a couple of days like Seraphin did, you're not going to see that much difference in the image quality. I mean, the other common question I get is like, am I going from 16 megapixels to 20 megapixels a big deal? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I couldn't, when I switched from 16 megapixels to 20 megapixels for my paid work, because I used the EM10 Mark II, and that's the camera that got me into Micro Four Thirds for my real estate and commercial work. When I went from the EM10 Mark II to the EM1 Mark II, going from 16 to 20 megapixels made no difference at all. And the image quality was not any better with the EM1 Mark II or the Mark III for the kind of work that I did. And for general photography, it's not going to be any different. It's only when you start to go to sort of the limits of what a sensor is capable of. It's also, in terms of performance, how quickly does the sensor, how's the autofocus? What's the rolling shutter like? When you start going to some extremes, there's definitely some huge improvements in the OM1. Like, there's no rolling shutter to speak of for normal shots, right? Now, there is a lot of rolling shutter when you start talking about propellers and fans, things that spin really fast. Yeah, you're going to get rolling shutter and distortion. But when I was doing a photo job for a golf tournament, I froze the swing of the club with the OM1. I would not freeze that swing with an EM1. The swing would have some rolling shutter or distortion on it, and the OM1 had none. So there's definitely improvement in the rolling shutter by far. But like I said, going back to Seraphin's point that, yeah, in general image quality, no, there's no difference. It's only when you start going to some of the more extremes or less common type photography where you might find enough of a difference to justify swapping just for image quality. And yeah, you have to read between the lines a lot of times. Always do your due diligence, right? and try and extrapolate what you can. Oh, David Crooks is here. Good morning. We were David Crooks. That's when I was talking earlier. I was talking about you, about our photo club meet yesterday. Oh, I thought you had it already. Okay. Anyone wondering, the Olympus OM1 is in stock right now at districtcamera.com. They have it in stock. Today's Sunday, they're closed, but you can order it online. So if you want it, you can get one. And they're an authorized dealer, so you'll get the warranty. And I think I heard them say you still get the extra battery when you order one. So I don't know. You'll have to, don't buy the camera because you're going to get an extra battery, because you may not. I can't say that 100% sure, but they have one in stock. So, and I have no hesitation recommending that camera. None whatsoever. And Randy's here. Oh, I saw your astro photos, Randy. Those were cool. I haven't watched your video yet. I know you just put a video out yesterday. Oh, thank you, Wally. I appreciate that. 100 underlined twice. I'm not sure what that means. Unless that's some I mean, look at this. I appreciate that. But the way that it translated over into this my app, it didn't translate properly. I'm sure it looks different on YouTube, whatever you wrote there. Viewpoint. What is viewpoint? I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's the TG5. Like I said, I used it yesterday. Oh, maybe I can find an image for. I have. What I didn't realize is like a 5 or 10 minute recording limit on the TG5 when you do I was recording in 4K 30, and apparently there's a time limit, which I forgot about because I rarely use the TG5. But when I do, it's usually for photos and not video. But I said, oh, let me bring, because I didn't want to bring two, as small as our cameras are, a TG5 is, tiny. And I didn't want to bring two full-on Micro Four Thirds cameras, one for video, one for photos, especially when we're going to be in a crowded event. I'm always uneasy about, my stuff getting stolen. So I was like, okay, I can bring the TG5. That's not a huge loss if somebody walks off with that. And I need to guard the OM1 with my life, right? Because that would hurt. That would hurt. Even though I got insurance and all that, that would hurt to lose that. Let's see. Last night, my TG5. I don't think I did any photos with it, but I did. I haven't even watched the video myself, actually. I just loaded it last night at midnight, and then I passed out. Here it is. Was it screen number 2? The fireworks. So TG5. Oh, there are a couple images here. Must have been an accident. I must have hit like the shutter button instead of the record button, because I wasn't trying to take pictures last night. But let's see how it looks. See if we can recover this. I'm just curious. Oh, interesting. Actually, oops. Let me fix the white balance. Ooh, look at the noise. I don't even know what ISO I'm at. ISO 320. It doesn't take much. Once you're off ISO 100, the noise just is rough, especially if I don't want to white balance there. Where can I white balance off of? Let me try this roof. This roof is probably grayish. All right, there we go. That's not bad. A little bit too much magenta. There we go. And then we'll straighten it. And probably, yeah, let's go 4x3 format. I don't know why I'm editing. This is a live stream, but I just felt like editing. We'll just use the Lightroom noise reduction. Photolab does a much better job, but tiny bit of sharpening and some masking and a little clarity, a bunch of dehaze. There we go. Just a little bit more exposure. And we'll crank up the saturation. There we go. Voila. That's a shot I didn't plan to take from the TG5. But I got autofocus. I forgot what I'm doing here. Oh, I was going to show you the video. So let me do a before and after here. Sync. So there's a oh, my screen. I have my screen set up for ultra wide. That's why things are. But yeah, wow, that came out pretty good for a TG5, right? I think I can clean that up with Photolab with the deep prime noise reduction and optics and stuff, and actually use this picture, add it to my portfolio. All right, where's the TG5 movies? Oh, unknown camera. There we go. I think this video. Okay. Push play. I don't know why it's not playing. Oh yeah, this is awesome. Cool. This came out really good. So just some tips, Wally, if you want to do this, oh, I didn't mean to close. I hate that. I wish you could like close Lightroom, but then hit cancel. But I have to close it and then come back in. But yeah, some tips, Wally, if you want to do fireworks and record fireworks with a TG5, dial in a -2 exposure comp in the video, because when you record video on the TG5, it goes into program mode, but at least you can shift the exposure comp down, and that seemed to work pretty well. Okay. But yeah, I get it. I took, taking that little tiny camera, it just stuffs right in the bag like a lens cap almost. It's so small. And then Darko has some feedback here about teleconverters, not specifically the Olympus ones, but definitely I think it's consistent, right? Teleconverters degrade the image quality a little bit. And then Marco seems to think there's minimal. Says with proper shutter speeds for the focal lengths and apertures and adequate processing, there's minimal compromise with TCs. When you need the reach, they are fine. Okay. And oh, okay, yeah. Just remind me. I'll try and do that today for you. But and all the EXIF data will be there. So if I didn't use the right shutter speed, or if there are other compromises in the exposure settings take that into account, obviously, right? And David Crooks uses, I think, a 2x converter. He uses one of them all the time, and he gets great results. So that's that. And Marco says, with a 32-inch 4K monitor, one stuck. I have one. Oh, yeah. 32-inch 4K? I'd love that. Yeah, send me an email or call me. Of course, I don't know what it would cost to ship a 32-inch monitor from your place to mine. I mean, you're not far from me. You're in Pennsylvania, I think. Oh, Robin is here. Hey, Robin, good to see you. It's always good to see you. I really appreciate you coming into streams. I mean, because not so much for me, but everybody's always happy to see you. That's awesome. Yes, Robin Wong feels the same way, but Robin Wong did not have the OM1, so don't trust what he says. I forget what we were talking about. Why was I talking about Robin Wong? Because I said you feel the same way about something. I can't remember. It was it was the image quality on the OM1. Yeah, you didn't even shoot with the OM1, so how would you know? Oh, just kidding. And yeah, it's probably like what, 2 in the morning for Robin Wong, right? Oh my God, I've already been jibber jabbering for an hour here. Yeah. And then Enzo says, thank you for your honesty opinion regarding, what is this? Regarding digital cameras that would apply to any brand name. True, there may be limitations and advances, but between the newest and older cameras, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of features on new cameras, but if you're talking about strict image quality, there's not that much difference. Jimmy Chang did a video on that. He pulled out some 10-year-old camera. Robin Wong does it all the time. He says, I'm going to take out my, Brownie box camera and get great shots. Or maybe not that old, but, some old camera, right? Like a 5D Mark I. Or what else? The you just did a video on the EM5 Mark I, right? I'm pretty sure I watched that one. Yeah, image quality is fine. I know you've done one on the PL1. So is Peter. Peter's done a PL1 video and got great shots. So when you look at just general image quality, they're all doing great jobs for the last 10 years, at least 10 years. I got a E500 and an E330 takes great images in good light. Clearly there's been advances from CCD to CMOS and ISO and all of that and megapixels, but yeah, if you just look at them side by side without pixel peeping, God knows you're not going to be able to see any difference, really. And let's see. Yeah, the fireworks look like an alien invasion. Yep. It would good to be see more point of view videos with the TG. Firework video is great. What do you mean by point of view? Like you want to see me using the TG5? Like I'm holding the TG5 and you can see me holding it, or I think that's what you mean, right? I mean, I don't use my TG5 very much, but time to time, like you said, taking out a little tiny camera is liberating sometimes, like really tiny. Heck, I take out my little Canon sometimes too. That's even smaller. Look at this. This is my Canon. What is this? The ELPH 180. And it's hard to tell in the stream, but it makes this TG5 feel like a brick compared to this, because this is like It's just tiny, tiny. It doesn't look like it on camera, but trust me, it's, oh yeah, this shows pretty well how small the Canon is. And I got great shots with this. Let me show you one I took with this. I really liked how this one came out. Oh damn it, I closed Lightroom, but yeah, there's no comparison. Let's see. While Lightroom's loading up, I'll tell you the weight difference. I paid $120 for this camera. 126 grams with battery and memory card. Oh, there's my memory card. Well, anyway, with battery and memory card. And the TG5, 254 grams with battery and no memory card, right? Let me add a memory card. I'll just lay it on top of the scale. Yeah, it's still 256 grams. So, yeah, it's double the weight between this little Canon and my TG5. This TG5 is twice as heavy. So that's what I mean. It's actually, this is tiny, tiny. Same size sensor, but this uses a CMOS sensor. I'm sorry, a CCD sensor. Old CCD technology in this. So that's what kind of intrigued me about it, you know? And where's... So, let's see. I took those pictures, I believe they were first or second quarter. Let's just pick both quarters and see if it comes up in the list. Canon ELPH 180. So, which ones did I flag here? This one. Yeah, I took this one. I really like this one. Let me change my screen resolution. Display settings. I'm tired of readjusting things. So, why is it still, damn it? Display settings. $1080. Keep. There we go. Yeah, I took this with this little ELPH. This is Conowingo Dam. I like this shot. And what else do I have in here? I mean, these are, and they're just JPEGs. It doesn't shoot RAW at all. But that was a black and white JPEG I took. This is, let me hit reset. I think this is straight out of camera. Oh no, I converted it to black and white. But that's the color. Then I just converted it to black and white. But it's fine. I think this is a bird in flight shot. Yeah, that's total shit. Some of Ellie, my fireplace. Yeah, I was testing the camera out before I took it out, just to get a feel for the controls. That's another shot I did I like. I forget what the point of this was now. Where's here we go. So why did I bring this out? We were talking about the TG5. Robin's the reason I purchased the EP5. Wow. Yeah, EP5 is nice. I think it was on, I think District Camera has an EP5 for like $150 right now, used. It was very tempting. Oh, Out and About. Yeah, you've probably seen them, but I have about 5 videos that are vlogs using the TG5 already. So just search my channel for TG-5 and you'll see like 5 or 6 vlogs come up where I go out, mostly night photography, except for one. I think one was in the daytime when it snowed. But I could do more. Why not? Yeah, dark. The Mamiya 645E, nice. I've been thinking about I've been thinking about getting a 645 film camera, but I was leaning towards like the Bronica ETRSI series. They have an anniversary one that's like a silver. It looks a lot like a Hasselblad, and it's around $600 or $700. Been thinking about that down the road. I don't need one now because I have a Hasselblad, but I don't have a 645 camera. I had a 6x9 before, which was pretty awesome, but I never used it because it was just, you only get 8 shots on like $20 worth of film. And I know it's not about the money when it comes to shooting film, because that's, if you have to think about money when you're shooting film, you shouldn't be shooting film because it's just ridiculously expensive now. But yeah, I was thinking about a Bronica ETRSI. I almost pulled the trigger on one a couple of months ago, and then I read the fine print, and he said that the aperture was a little stiff. And other than the camera looking like it was mint, he did say the aperture was stiff, and I was like, the lens is so important in those cameras. I mean, everything has to work because they're old cameras, and I didn't want to buy something. I'd rather pay a little more and buy something that is supposed to be 100% rather than save money and buy something that's 90%, but then it doesn't work right, because these film cameras, a lot of them are so old. It's risky, particularly anything that uses electronics, right? That's why mechanical cameras are so popular. And then Robin says, Rob Trek may need to take the lead again. We love him and we support. Oh, a lead on what? I'm like the smallest channel now among everyone. I started, I think, virtually first, maybe not absolute first, but I might have been the first one to hit 1,000 subscribers. Let's just say that, right? I'm pretty sure I'm the first one to hit 1,000 subscribers among all my peers, but now I am the smallest channel. Everyone has really grown, and deservedly so. I don't want to take anything away from anyone's channels. You guys all earned it, but it's kind of it's just an observation. I'm the smallest channel now. The lead. Oh, here it is. Darko says, I think we need Robin, Jimmy, and Peter conference where we all fly in and get to meet the superstars of YouTube. Holy smokes. Fly in where, though? It's all relative. If I'm, basically from my perspective, everybody would have to come to the United States because I'm not leaving the country. If I was more comfortable with leaving the country, I'd go anywhere, but I'm not. I don't even like to leave my house, to be honest, but leaving the country, that's not happening. But yeah, that would be cool if we could all get together. So say there's some photography convention, or not that those are a thing anymore, but we used to see a lot of photographers come from around the world to come to New York. They used to have these things there. I could do that very easily if they do that again. And then we could plan it out, right? Because you're coming for something other than just to hang out together, right? You're coming to for something, whatever it is. But those things are far and few between now. So we just have to do it virtually. You know, I have my annual Micro Four Thirds live stream where we do all get together. But to actually physically come together in the same place, that would be tough these days, especially with the way travel is and how expensive things are. I mean, you know, none of us, I mean, I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but I'm broke, technically. All this gear I have, yeah, you should see my credit card bill. It's insane. Oh, Rod is here. Hey, Rod. And Robin says, we do photo walks. Oh, the Bessa. Yeah, the Bessa is nice. Absolutely. And oh, Lauren has come out of the woodworks. The GFX 50S medium format camera with the 35 to 70 is 4,000. I'm not trading my car. I need my car. Whatchamacallit? I think it was why am I forgetting his name? But they were asking me about the Sigma. I think it was Brian. But they were asking me about the Sigma FP, what I thought about that, to use that as a landscape camera. And, you know, I forgot to mention the GFX series, right? You can get like a GFX, a used GFX, the original one, the 50, not the version 2, not the S, but the rangefinder style for like $2,000. Throw like an $800 or $900 lens on it, or adapt a lens, you know, for cheap, right? And now you're talking about a landscape camera. The Sigma FP, for all of its, you know, full frame glory and megapixels, it's not a medium format or large format camera like a GFX. You know, if you want to do landscapes, that would be money well spent if you want to get into landscapes. I don't think money would be well spent on a Sigma FP. And honestly, the best way to spend money would be to get a good lens for landscapes for your Olympus camera. That would be the best money spent. But if you really want another camera, GFX series, right? That little rangefinder thing for like less than $2,000 sometimes. But generally around 2,000. And throw a lens on. Lenses are expensive, 800 to 1,000 for a used one. Then you're talking about a landscape camera, right? And then I recently heard a gentleman who said to use the fastest shutter speed on. Yeah, it was probably me. Well, no, I wouldn't say use the fastest shutter speed on a camera. Because on the Olympus OM1, it's 1/8000th. Or if you use silent shutter, it's 1/32,000th of a second. So the statement needs a little more precision than just say use the fastest shutter speed. And use ISO 4000. I just use auto ISO and I set my shutter speed. That's how I do it. So I think that's better than setting your ISO to 4000. I think it's better to put the ISO in auto and then set the shutter speed that you want, because you don't need the fastest shutter speed every time. And let's see, photo walks, Rod. City sent me an email saying there's a deal for Amazon Prime Day, 0% interest on purchases if paid over 2 years. Yeah, I do that all the time. Trust me. I have a calendar of when all my 2 years 0% things expire, whatever it might be. A lot of them are like 1 year, some are 18 months, some are 2 years. And then I try and roll it over to another 0% deal when that time is up. That's what I do. So I'm like in this perpetual debt at 0%. Technically not even 0%. I'm paying like a 3% transfer fee every time, right? So I'm running a 3% interest rate on all of my debt right now, perpetually. At some point I'm going to have to pay these things off though. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be possible, because every 2 years another camera comes out that I want, or computer, or lens, or something. Something comes up every couple of years that I'm like, gotta have it. And then I paid off the credit card, but now it's back up again, right? After 2 years. Ugh. No, large format. Man, I could never do that. I'm content. I'm content with a 6x6, my Hasselblad. Because like I said, even the 6x9 Texas Leica that I had, my GF, what was it, GF 690 Mark III, that was a little bit too big and didn't take enough pictures. And I just felt like 6x6 is fine. But a 645 would be even more interesting, right? Because then I'll go back to a landscape or portrait. I'll have some aspect ratio. I won't have a square. So, and it's just cool to shoot with old cameras. And a 645 is a physically smaller overall, the camera itself. So you can, it just feels more manageable. But yeah, these large box things where you get you look like an X-ray technician. You put all this, it's just too much. I'll never, and it's but expensive too. My gosh, what's an 8x10 sheet of film cost, or whatever size they are? They're huge. It's probably like going to cost you about $100 a print by the time you're done, assuming you got the exposure right, which is another pain in the butt. I bet Nick Carver does it though. I'm sure he has a video on it. Nick Carver is awesome. Uh, so Robin's sharing a story about his first experience, we'll say, with photography that got him excited. 4-second exposure with a 4-megapixel Kodak. Wow. Top of a mountain. I know. I can't think what my first joy was with photography. I don't have any like first experience like that. It was more gradual for me. I just started taking pictures and just wanted to get better at it. Uh, I know, it's so boring compared to Robin's story, climbing a mountain and using a little compact camera. See, Robin's a good storyteller. Me, I'm like, I bought a camera, started taking pictures, want to get better. That's how I got started, right? So boring. But Robin's like, yeah, I climbed Mount Everest and I brought this camera with me and I took this 4-second exposure and oh, That's when you knew you wanted to do photography. Yeah, I don't have that kind of story. I just wanted to take pictures of my dogs. And developing your first roll of film. Yeah, that is cool. Developing your own film and then it coming out. I got like 3 rolls I need to develop. I wonder if my developer's still any good. I don't know what the shelf life is, but it's been 6 months. It might be bad. I might have to throw it out. I'll have to check what the shelf life is. But the last roll I developed about 2 months ago, it's been a while. It came out completely blank. And I can't figure out why, because the register was still there, but there were no photos on the whole roll. It was just clear. And it wasn't like I was doing color. It was a black and white. It was a Tri-X 400. And it came out, the register was there, which is confusing. So I know the film developed because I could see the register, but I didn't have any photos. It was all clear. So that's what kind of threw me off. If there was no register, I'd be like, okay, so I did something else wrong, right? Maybe I, used the fixer first instead of the, you know what I mean? Something stupid, but that was not the case. So I don't know why it came out. It was just very strange. Maybe the shutter on the camera was not opening when I pushed the button. I'll have to, well, I checked the camera. It was taking pictures fine. I mean, I checked the shutter. It was opening and closing when I pushed the shutter button. So I don't know why I got nothing. So I got like 2 or 3 rolls I need to develop, and I'm a little hesitant because that last roll was, didn't develop. Anyway. And it's not like I got anything, whoops, I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. I don't have anything that I'm going to miss if I mess up those rolls, but it's just a waste, There's like 3 rolls, that's about $25 because they're like, it's 120 film. Those are like $12 a roll. Oh, you shot 8x10s before. Wow. Yeah, the 645 cameras with the bellows. David Tellett has one. He's local here to me and also comes in the stream sometimes. He has one of those folding 645s. It's really tiny. It's like a little taller than a TG5, but not much thicker until you open it up. And then Rod wants to know, does anyone know how the Fuji X S10 compares to the EM5 Mark III? You went to the shop, but they couldn't find the battery. I have no feedback on that. I've never shot with an S10. I mean, I'm not a fan of my XT30. I probably like the XS10 though, but that came out after I bought my XT30, and now I can't really afford the XS10. Meaning I can't budget for an XS10 because it's not a system. I have a lot of lenses, and I'm not invested in the X mount at all. I got 1 camera and 2 lenses. And I don't think anything Fuji I would be ever invested in. It'll always be I have 1 camera and 1 or 2 lenses. Just like my Panasonic S5. I have one Panasonic S5 and 2 lenses. That's it. And that's enough for everything I need to do photography wise. For my paid work, I need more. I need 1 more lens, but not, and everything else is just gas. 300 f4, yeah. Great lens. I get great pictures, better than I'd ever taken my whole life. But I don't need it, right? The aisles. Wow. There's a story there. Man, everybody's got great stories about photography. I was trying to pull it up. Yeah, John Allen. And Dick Smith is no more. I have no idea who these people are. I like DigiDirect though. I think that's the guy with the long hair, right? He does reviews. I like his channel. He's very he does a good job, I think. Yeah, ain't that the truth? I have more cameras than I need, but not as many as I want. Oh, so true. So true. It makes it hard sometimes to figure out what camera to take when I go out on a photo walk. And since I was picking up the battery for my OM1 when I went out last night, I said, I'm going to just take the OM1 with me since I'm picking up the battery for it anyway. And usually I want to take the Pen F with me, but then my S5, my Canon M50, my Fuji X-T30 are all sitting there collecting dust. So I'm like, I should probably take one of those out because they're all fine cameras. And then I want to take my Nikon DF out that I got from Randy, because I got a 60 millimeter macro lens for it, and I want to do some macro photography. I just got this diffuser so I can do some macro. So I think, I don't know, Rob, what do you think? I was thinking about putting this onto my camera, so now the light will extend beyond the lens, and so this should work, right? Where's my camera? Because without a diffuser or something to get the light past the front of the lens, yeah, that goes way in front of the lens. I'm just worried that I might still cast a shadow off the lens because the light is back here. It's not totally in front of the lens. Let's try a test shot. It just came in this morning. I got it for like $8. Because I'm so cheap, right? Oh, there is a memory card in here. Let's see. Oh. So let's get out of silent shutter and we'll do aperture priority. And just do auto ISO. This is the camera I use for the fireworks, so everything was in manual. All right, let's try this. So, where's my focus point there? Focus. What am I? Oh, I hate this thing sometimes. I love it when I want a manual focus, but then most of the time I want to autofocus, and then I hate this thing. Anyway, the little focus clutch. I love it and hate it. I love it when I want a manual focus, but then autofocus, I hate it. All right, there. Now where's my focus point? Okay. All right, why didn't the flash? Oh, silent shutter. I got to be mechanical shutter. There we go. So if I'm taking a picture of a bug on a flower, wow, that's way overexposed because I'm in manual mode. Let me put it, the flash is on manual. Let me just put it in TTL. I don't need anything fancy yet. Okay, not bad. It's still way overexposed. Why? It shouldn't be. Oh, because I'm not an auto ISO. Damn it. It's always something. There. All right. Let me try flour. Oh, now the problem is this is getting into the frame. I need to mount it up some. All right. I might have to send it back. It was $8, but it's not looking great. I don't need a hood. Oh yeah, I can take the lens hood off. Definitely for macro. Take the tulip off. Yeah, thank you. I will try that. And then it says the hood will disturb the insect. Without the hood, you have more distance to work between the lens and the bug. Yes. Inverse square law. It's hard to calculate inverse square law when you're this close. But yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. I need to practice. I can't like stream and do photography at the same time. I've tried, right? My backyard bird streaming, but uh when I'm doing my photography, I have to concentrate. Um but I think this will work. Take the hood off, put my extension tubes on. I'll buy a 60 macro one day. But I think what I'll do is I'll just adapt my Nikon 60 macro to this camera and then just kind of, rock a little bit to get the focus stacking. But we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of new to like hardcore macro, meaning, well, let me not say hardcore, but real macro photography. I haven't done. Um, I've always done close up photography, but I haven't really done any real macro photography. So I thought I'd just start with like an $8 thing. Like if you're getting started in something new, photography related, buy the cheapest crap you can and practice. And then when you get good, then you can buy the expensive stuff, like that. There's a fancy, there are really fancy macro diffusers, they're custom made to cut out and all that. It's like I bought the 300 f4, but not until I had a camera that would make it worth my time. uh, so I practiced a lot with the 75 to 300. But yeah, anything photography related, you can usually get away with 20, $30 with some cheap stuff to practice. And then once you get good with this crap, you can throw it away and get real equipment and real gear if you end up enjoying it and doing well. Or maybe you never need to buy an expensive one. Maybe this cheap crap will work just fine. You know, everything's a little different. Everybody's skill set's a little different. Okay. Yes. Most of the extension tubes come with for Micro Four Thirds, they usually come with the electrical contacts. Now, when I used to buy extension tubes for my Nikon, a lot of those did not come with electrical contacts. But Micro Four Thirds, I don't think I've ever seen extension tubes without the contacts. Sorry, I was referring to Robin's comment here. Just use the macro extension tubes with electrical contacts so you can control the aperture and have AF. And you are rocking, sir. We need our truck. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, Robin, I've done extension tubes with the 45-1/8. I have a video on it, I think. Not like a real video, but like I did something like that in one of my videos. It works great. The best lens, though, I think for macro with extension tubes is the 40-150 kit lens. Because with the 45, right, you have to kind of rock in and out to find the focus point, because your range of focus is like this much, right, on a 45 prime. But when you use the 40-150 kit lens, you can zoom in and out from about this far away, and so your range of focus is a lot more when you use the zoom. So the zoom acts like a giant focus ring. The zoom ring acts like a giant focus ring, and then you push the button to get the autofocus. But when you use the 40-150 kit lens with extension tubes, the like I said, the zoom ring becomes a giant manual focus ring, and then you can autofocus by pushing the shutter button. So that's what's worked really well for me. And you get about the same magnification as you do with the 45 prime, because the working distance is about the same. The 45 prime doesn't have very good close focusing, right? Better than the 12-40 by a lot, right? But anyhow, that's my experience so far. All right, Rob, we'll talk to you later. Have a good night. And I don't know what an MK diffuser is. I've seen a guy out there with like a fancy diffuser, though, for his macro stuff. Maybe it's the same guy. Yeah, I've seen the tutorials. So Darko says there are tutorials to make macro diffusers that work better than paying $70 and up. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. So I have a lot of cardboard I've saved up that I might try and make one. I think Robin has a video where he shows the one that he made for himself. I don't think Robin even uses a commercial macro diffusers. I think you use one that you made yourself. So it can be done. It's not complicated, right? You're just diffusing light. But for $8, I didn't, I don't have to cut anything out or get things to line up, $8 diffuser, and it's collapsible. Yeah. Of course, 99 times out of 100, when I buy collapsible things, I never collapse it because it's a pain in the ass. And then the thing pops out like it's going to take your eye out or something. I hate that. So yeah, if you go around my house, if you see anything that's supposed to be collapsible, it's usually not collapsible. Even my umbrellas. That's not true. Most of my umbrellas I collapse, but I do have a few that are still open out in my living room because I didn't feel like collapsing them. But the ones that twist and collapse, very rarely do I collapse those. They're just sitting somewhere. Oh, use a cheap. I could have sworn you made something. Oh, yeah, the macro on the TG. I've done a few. I like it. That's true. And if you get the little LED light for it, I'm gonna get into it though. I mean, the bugs are eating me alive out there, so I might as well take a picture of one. Ooh, okay. It's getting late for me too. I'm getting hungry. And thanks again for dinner, David. I appreciate it. David bought me dinner last night. That was awesome. Okay, so I think I'll wrap it up here. Oh, the Raynox, you're going to get me started on that. I hear that's really good. It's about $70 for 2.5x Raynox. It just screws onto the front of your lens, and it gives you that 2.5x magnification, probably by allowing you to get the lens closer like an extension tube. But I looked into that too. But I need to get good with lighting, composition, and stacking. I need to develop my skill set up more before I start spending more than you know, $8 on macro photography. So I'm going to practice some, and once I get my skill set up and a workflow down, then I can start thinking about what gear and accessories are going to help me. Because right now, the money would just be wasted. So I may never get good at it. Because no matter how good the gear is, if your skill set sucks, you'll never get good pictures. So always develop your skill set first before you buy gear for that specific skill set. Like flash photography is another good example. I bought all these $25 flashes off eBay, used ones, and practiced with those before I, went all in on the Godox system and got the 8400, 8200, all of that. Because you may not need to ever use flash, and you may not ever get very good at it, and then you got, thousands of dollars of gear sitting there just collecting dust. So my advice, I mean, I know I've said in the past, if you can afford it, get the best you can, right? And that's absolutely true with lenses if you're planning to buy a lens. But I've always said 14 to 42 kit lens, 40 to 150 kit lens. You need to get those and develop your skill set and your point of view, your perspective, and then maybe buy prime. And then, yada, yada, right? Then you can really invest in some glass. But when it comes to accessories like flash, triggers, I bought like $20 triggers, that have fallen apart on me now. But I bought very cheap radio triggers, like from Newer. They were like $12 or $13, and you got 3 triggers, like $3 a piece. And then I bought $25 Nikon flashes off eBay used, and I bought broken ones because I didn't care about the hot shoe. If you buy a flash with a broken hot shoe, you can get them pretty cheap, long as they still fire, right? You can use the optical trigger on them. So that's what I did, and that's what I'm going to do with macro. Is I'm just going to try this little $8 diffuser and practice with the 60 millimeter macro Nikon lens that I have. I'm going to have to adapt it, but there's so many things to macro photography other than focus stacking, which I'll be able to do once I buy a 60 millimeter macro lens. But there's so many things with macro photography got nothing to do with the lens, right? The features of the lens and the camera, it has all to do with your skill set. Being able to find the bugs is probably the hardest thing for me right now. Because when I go out, I don't see nothing. But the next thing is like, damn it, right? I didn't see that coming. But I can't see nothing. I got to put my glasses on when I go out looking for bugs. Otherwise, it's just a blurry mess. And then I can find a bug. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? That makes sense, right? That's how I approach it anyway. And yeah, for the manual 4/3 lenses, that makes sense. $7, man, that's nothing. The shipping alone would be more than that unless they ship it free. Oh, throw a Frisbee for Ellie. I know, right? I love the 60 micro. I have that for my D600 and get great portraits and macro. Yeah, it's a fantastic lens. I bought that one used for like $250 in mint condition. from district camera. I feel like camera conspiracies guy, right? Let's all go to Canada Camera, whatever the name of that camera store is, and buy a camera. And then I watch a lot of his videos, obviously. So the guy cracks me up. He's like, and if you want to buy a terrible camera, I have affiliate links below. But oh, that guy kills me. I'd love to have him on as a guest one day. I don't know if I could keep up with him though, because he's pretty amazing. But you know, when people make a video, sometimes their personality is very different when they live stream, right? When they're actually live in person, they can be very, very different personality. Like I'll never forget. Remember when he used to call himself the angry photographer? I mean, he always called himself whatever that philosopher name is. I forget his real name now. But you know, he was a firebrand on YouTube. But then when he did a one-on-one like live stream or video with somebody and he's just talking, he's like this very laid back, just talking. Like a total opposite from his YouTube personality when he's in real life. Another person like that, somebody else you might know, is like Danny Glover. You know, I watch Danny Glover. He does all these cop action hero type movies, right? And he is like screaming and yelling and happy and emotional. And then I saw him on some TV show for interview, and he was just kind of sitting there, head down, talking, very shy. Like nothing like his characters on the movies that I've seen him in. So it's always a risk. Ken Wheeler, thank you. That was his name. And honestly, his the way I found his channel back when I used to shoot Nikon, wasn't looking for Nikon reviews or advice on lenses, which is what he was kind of known for back then. I was looking for something about physics related, about magnetics, right? Because I was just fascinated by magnetics at the time for something. I was doing something and I was like, you know, this is really interesting how magnetics work and stuff, right? And he had a video on magnetics or something, and that's how I found him. And then next thing I know, you know, recommendations start popping up about he's talking about Nikon lenses. And I was like, well, damn, he's a Nikon shooter. I didn't know that. So let me start watching those. And that's how I found him. I wasn't even searching for Nikon related material. He does metaphysics now. Okay. Yeah, Superman is Clark Kent. That's a good analogy. Lauren is one of the smartest people on earth. You know, the way you can just put things together and make it funny, that takes a very intelligent person. I always envy people that are smart like that. I can never make those connections. If I ever try to be funny, it would take a lot of thought for me. If I do say something funny randomly, that was just pure luck, nothing to do with, you know. But there are people that just you know, like those impromptu. What was that show they used to come on? Who's your line, or what's that line? I forget what it was. And these guys would just come out impromptu and just do the funniest shit ever. You know, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but my bug zapper is going nuts. And I'm inside my house. I don't know how these bugs are getting in, but they're getting in the house somehow. So I have a bug zapper inside my house because it's just, I don't understand. Between that and the critters in the roof, and anyway, It's like Wild Kingdom over here. Um, Whose line is it anyway? That's the show. Yeah, amazing, amazing. Those guys, they are geniuses. To be able to just take something so simple and then make it hilarious instantly. I just don't know how they do it. If they start a YouTube channel, they would get millions of views every day and just make a fortune. Maybe they're already rich, or maybe they're not in it for the money. I don't know. But if I had that kind of talent, yeah. I mean, Casey is hilarious, but he's got a fraction of talent compared to those guys on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Those guys are geniuses, right? Uh, well, anyway, okay, I'm gonna go. I really appreciate you guys being here today. Hopefully, I didn't miss any questions. It was great to have you here, Robin. Always good to see you. You're welcome anytime. And I always forget to say this, but I have links below so that you can come and join me live. So anybody, any of my viewers, any of you guys want to join me live during the stream, I always put a link down below so that you can click and I can have you on side by side. So Robin, next time you come in, take the opportunity to just come in live for a few minutes. I'm sure everybody would love to see you. But either way, I appreciate everyone being here. It's always a lot of fun for me anyway. And I hope to see you again soon.